For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Folta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
Hey, everybody, welcome on in to Mammoth Daily. Adrian Denny with you on this Wednesday, Odd Man Rush edition. Mike Folta and Nick Olczyk standing by. They'll get us the morning after to look back at that road trip and look back at Tuesday night in St. Paul. In the Odd Man Rush, Matt McConnell, our television voice of the Utah Mammoth, will join Mike and I. Always love having Matt. We've had him on some morning afters on the trip, but now we're going to get a full 20 minutes or so with Matt and just talk about some of the fun stuff that have happened with the Mammoth this year, how he's seen the team grow, evolve. What's next? We'll talk with Matt. Catherine Bogart from UtahMammoth.com will be along for her monthly visit with us here on Mammoth Daily because we've got a new episode of Mammoth Monthly, the podcast coming out. And wherever you get this podcast, you can get Mammoth Monthly. So search it out, find it. You got us Monday through Friday. Catherine, her magazine podcast, and Mammoth Monthly is great for your weekends. So check that out. Again, Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, and SEG Plus. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to Mammoth Monthly. Leave comments, 5-star reviews. Share us. Never miss an episode. We love having you along. By the way, apologies if you get us on Apple Podcasts. Our Tuesday episode did not show up in the feed, and Apple's been experiencing some issues with several podcasts that haven't been showing up in feeds. So they're working on it. Long story short, hopefully we're okay now. But if something like that happens, you can always catch us on Spotify, YouTube, again, Mammoth Plus, SEG Plus, Amazon Music is a good podcast option as well. So we'll always be here. And that rare moment where if we don't show up in your spot, we're there. Just go to one of our other areas. And thanks again for your patience and apologies for yesterday. And if you missed the Tuesday mailbag, it's evergreen. You can go back, still listen to it. It's fun. Didn't miss anything. Didn't get to something that happened on Tuesday, so it's not pertinent anymore. The mailbag is still ready for you. So if you didn't have a chance, our Tuesday mailbag, we had so much fun in that. On the road trip, I'd give us a 7 out of 10 in terms of fun. Mammoth go 3-1-1. So, you go on those trips, 5-6 points. You got 7. We were hoping we were going to get 9, 10, or something higher than 7 after the 3-0 start, but they get the overtime point in Chicago. Kind of ran out of gas on Tuesday in Minnesota. We'll get to more on it coming up, but 7 to 10 points is what it is. Everybody will take it. We'll hear from Lawson Krause and head coach Andre Turney coming up to lead us off after a game that, the Mammoth were in it and they had some chances and there was some momentum swings and they had that goal disallowed on the goaltender interference. If that goes in off the stick of Sean Dursey and doesn't hit the pipe, then Hayton isn't going for a rebound and making contact with the goalie, and the play comes off the board. So you had that. Then the Mammoth killed the 5-on-3 power play situation. Minnesota just loaded with skill. They were 3 for 9 in 5-on-3s this year, which seems a little low for them, but the Mammoth killed a full minute on the 5-on-3, and then a tough turnover made it 1-0. Michael Carcone hit a pipe on the power play in the first, would have tied it. It comes straight off the pipe and landed into the lap of Philip Gustafson. In the second period, another tough play in the Utah zone. Puck just kind of squirted away. Wild made it 2-0 as Matt Boldy got the goal. 2 of the top four goal scorers in the NHL, and both scored for the Minnesota Wild on Tuesday. But then 14 seconds later, Nick Schmaltz drew a penalty. You score on that power play, it's 2-1. JJ Peterka, great chance right in front of the net late in the second to make it 2-1. Didn't happen. And then in the third period, the wheels kind of fell off. But for Utah, in the big picture, 7 out of 10, it's good. And I've got more on why it's good. I'm not just going to say 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10 to you, the entire podcast. We'll go deeper in that coming up. But let's hear from Mike and Nick. Let's get to the morning after yesterday. Mike was instructing us on how to back a box truck into the loading dock at United Center. And starting things off today, he's just out sightseeing.
Welcome to Mike's Morning After, following a 5-0 loss for the Utah Mammoth at the hands of the mighty Minnesota Wild here at what is now Grand Casino Arena. But I have found history here. This is a giant X. What do they say? X marks the spot. It used to be the XL Energy Center, and this used to be part of the sign hanging up outside. So I feel like Indiana Jones finding the X on the map here in the bowels of the venue. I've also found a stack of beer twigs. As a beer consumer myself, very interested to see what these look like in action. But boy, could have used a beer tonight. I mean, 5-0. Mammoth didn't have much. End of a trip, back to back, and it showed. I mean, third game in 4 nights. I think you could chalk it up to that. I think that would be a little cheap, but I mean, you would have liked to have seen a little bit of pushback, and the Mammoth just didn't have it. Execution was off all night. Couldn't string together passes. Guys mishandling pucks. You had a couple goals for Minnesota that were just really bad turnovers. 2 of the first 3 were just horrible turnovers from the Mammoth. But what's happening? Oh my!
Hello?
Hey, Nikki, look at
this thing on.
I found the X marks the spot here from the old XL Energy Center.
What's behind it?
Maybe there's a couple goals back there.
Wait, what's behind it?
Let's see. What if we dig in there a little bit? We're a little slap happy at the end of the road trip, Nikki.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you pull from this?
I think this is one of those games you flush it. Really, I think it will sting because this is a very proud group. They want to win every game, and then they know that they could beat any team on any given night, as they've proven time and time again this season. But this is a game where I think you look at the end of a long road trip, possible 10 points, you got 7. Before the trip started, everybody would have taken that every single day of the week. So I think that is the positive you got to take from the game here tonight. Up on the bird, get some food, get back home. A day off tomorrow. We'll see what happens after a long trip. And then it's Chicago and Pittsburgh the next couple of games. So those are going to be tough games because you owe some retribution to the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Pittsburgh Penguins are in a fight right now to maintain their playoff position.
Yeah, so it's if you're angry and you're losing your mind at the loss, zoom out. Successful trip, 7 points. If you're happy with the trip, if you're saying, "Oh, we got 7 out of 10,"
happy and you know it.
If you're happy and you know it, take a seat and dial back in, because the Mammoth have to get back on the warpath like they were to start the trip. Because those teams are a couple games back in that are chasing Utah in that first wild card spot. They're not that far back.
And one of the teams play tonight.
Yeah.
The San Jose Sharks, and they lost to the Buffalo Sabres, who are on a generational run here at the end, towards the end of their season. So not only in terms of the standings are you trying to maintain your spot and climb, but you're trying to create some standing separation between yourself and the teams that are below you if you're the Utah Mammoth. And you still got a couple of divisional games left to go. Those are going to be very important. But to make sure that they win the majority of their games on home ice, which they have done, they've been much better on home ice this year compared to what they were last year. So look, get back up on the horse. Try to find a way to get a couple of points here in the next 2 games.
I believe it's all but 3 of the remaining 18 games are Western Conference games. So a lot of games against teams that are either in your division or fighting against you for those playoff spots. So not a whole lot to dwell on in this game. Let's just, like you said, get on the bird, get some food, sleep on our own beds for once in a month.
That's going to be nice. And do some laundry.
Oh, my God.
God knows you got to
I feel bad for you right there, yeah. worn the same suit 4 days in a row.
Yeah,
here.
I don't need to get rid of any of my nose hairs because they're all singed off.
Well, and the good thing is with the underwear, you only need a couple pairs on a trip this long because you can wear them.
A couple pairs.
You can
on
wear
a
'em-
9-day trip.
you
To
can
me,
wear
that
'em-
is disgusting.
You can wear them front side, then turn them around, and then flip them inside out,
That
then
is-
flip them around again. It's
that
like
is-
4 days right
That is
there.
absolutely appalling. That you just said.
Save space.
That is, folks. This guy, for his birthday and for the next couple of holidays, just if you see him, just bring some underwear and give it to him. Size medium.
He's my seatmate, so it's his problem now.
Did they know that last bit was recording? Was that for us? Were we supposed to hear that? Already did. Too late. But thanks to Mike and Nick for their great work on the trip and the morning afters, bringing us the inside story from on the ground with the team. We always love getting those from Mike, Nick, Maddie, Dom, Sarah when they join us. So appreciate their time. Yeah, it was one of those games. We've covered it. They covered it. For the Mammoth, though, let's hear what they said after the game on Tuesday night, because we've heard players like Lawson Krause, when the temperature's high, tell us what the temperature is, right? When he's hot, he's hot, he's not happy, doesn't sugarcoat anything. Head coach Andre Turdy, pretty honest. What did everybody think of the contest on Tuesday night? We've heard from Mike and Nick. I've given you some thoughts. Let's hear from Lawson Krause and head coach Andre Turdy right here.
Last two games, we could have been much better, but ultimately we did a really good job on this road trip. So time to go home, get some rest, and get ready for a couple games at home.
It's a really good trip. Before the trip, you will have say we'll get 7 point out of 10. We'll finish with a tough back-to-back. It is what it is. I think we have to make a step back, look at the trip. There's a lot of positive there. The boys fought hard today, like I said. So Mini's a good team. We need to give them credit. They were waiting for us. They know what happened the last both time we played them this year. So they were ready. Give them credit, and it is what it is. But I'm excited to go back home and have a little bit of rest and get ready.
Pretty even keeled that they're disappointed, but understanding. Okay, we did a good job on this trip, and Minnesota had lost to Utah 6-2, 5-2, 6-1, 4-0 at home, 2-1. Right, the Mammoth had their way with the Wild. They won 5 straight against them, and you see the roster on that Minnesota team: 8 Olympians, 3 gold medalists from Team USA, both goalies Olympians. Philip Gustafsson was really, really good on Tuesday. You knew that the Mammoth going in there, especially on a back-to-back, probably were going to have their work cut out for them. And now we turn the tables. Hey, guess what? Utah's first home game back from this trip, the game they played their last home game against. Remember that? Chicago Blackhawks on the Sunday afternoon. They're in town on Thursday, and it also comes a couple of nights after the Hawks beat the Mammoth in overtime. Chicago will not have played from Monday to Thursday, and you can bet the Mammoth will remember that while keeping in mind that it's going to be their 6th game in their 6th different city in 9 days. That first home game after a trip is not always as easy as you think, and then Utah's had their games against Chicago that have been struggles. So we'll see the Hawks coming up, and Utah is going to look to turn the tables, because as we said on yesterday's episode, Utah's kind of been the Chicago to Utah to Minnesota, if that makes sense. Utah to Minnesota has been the Chicago, and Chicago to Utah has been what Utah's been to Minnesota. So big weekend coming up. You got the Hawks, you got Pittsburgh, who's still playing good hockey and hanging in there in a top 3 spot. So that's what's coming up for the weekend for the Mammoth. But let's talk about the 3-1-1 trip. 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, right? I could say that for 45 minutes, but here's another facet of Utah's success on that trip, taking 7 of 10 points. Again, we talk about games in segments, okay? 16-7-2 now since January, top 5 in the NHL. You lost in overtime, you lost to Minnesota, you still improved your record on that trip with the big wins over Washington, Philly, Columbus. Okay, now let's look at the external picture for the Mammoth. When they went out on that road trip, they were tied with Edmonton. First wild card, second wild card, 4 points above the Chasers below that playoff line. They are coming home 6 points above the second wild card team. The Seattle Kraken have lost 3 in a row. The Mammoth gained 6 points on that trip, pushing away from the second wild card when they were tied with the second wild card going on to that trip. And oh, by the way, they've got the tiebreaker. So essentially 7 points above that second wild card. 6 points above the Chasers. You got LA right now tied with Seattle for that second wild card. All of a sudden, right? They make the coaching change. Artemi Panarin starting to get settled, and he's factoring in on a lot of goals. We told you this could be a big week for a coaching change boost for the LA Kings. And I'll be honest with you, right now it looks like LA is the second wild card team, in my opinion, just because Seattle's struggling. San Jose's winless in 3. They lost to Buffalo 6-3 on Tuesday night. Nashville kind of hanging around. They picked up a big win over Seattle on Tuesday night. But for the Mammoth, the ground they gained pushing away from the second wild card and the Chasers below the playoff line, that was pretty solid there for the Mammoth. Utah also finished that trip without Mikhail Sergachev for 4 straight games. And for the Mammoth, a game without Sergei, 2 games without Sergei, 3 games without Sergei. But then the 4th game against Minnesota, you really, really missed him. And get ready for Sergachev and Mackenzie Weegar playing together. That's your top D pairing. And on one of the goals that Utah didn't directly turn the puck over, not having their top D pairing on the ice kind of led to a Minnesota goal. As puck kind of scooted away from the Mammoth, and Weegar, if he's on that right side, is not letting that puck squirt away. So really miss Sergachev, and you can get a game or 2 or 3 without him and live to tell about it. And then it's like, oh, we really miss Sergei. And so you went out, you got Weegar to play with Sergachev, and hopefully we have Sergachev back on Thursday, day to day, with that lower body injury. But I thought that was one thing the Mammoth really missed on Tuesday night. Would have made a huge deal. Maybe not, probably not, but you would have noticed you had Sergachev out there. And so him and Weegar are going to be putting in a lot of minutes on that top pairing, and we have yet to see them together. So good news there. All right. Some stuff that I think the Mammoth will be focused on coming back home. The face-off circle, which should improve from bottom 5 to top 5 every single month. Trajectory for Utah going up October, November, December, January, February. Struggled in face-off circle on that trip, and they weren't missing anybody, right? 6 of the 12 natural centermen were in the lineup. So that's one area for the Mammoth to keep an eye on. Power play, now 7 power play goals in the last 10, right? It kind of tailed off a bit because the Mammoth didn't get a lot of chances on that trip. 10 chances in 5 games. It's hard to get into a routine, but we saw the power play rolling, and just kind of the trickling off of lack of power plays kind of slowed things down a bit. So face-offs, draw some more power plays. How do you draw some more power plays? Create some more scoring chances. Utah on the trip, 25 or fewer shots in all 5 games. Just not a lot. But the good news is boy, can they generate offense without a whole lot of redundancy needed in front of the net. We saw him outskill Columbus. We saw him take advantage of some chances against Washington, against Philly. A lot of chances created by Nick Schmaltz defensively that led back the other way. But maybe a few more scoring chances, maybe some more bodies to the net. We saw a really good game in Columbus from that 4th line. Kerfoot and Carcone got goals. They led Utah in 5-on-5 goals in that game on Saturday night. So just maybe a few more bodies to the net, get some more scoring chances, draw some more penalties, because your power play was looking really, really good coming out of that game in Philly on Thursday night. Just not a lot of chances to go with it. So what we got wrapping up the trip and the Tuesday night right here on Mammoth Daily. When we come back, how about some Matt McConnell joining the Odd Man Rush? Who is the odd man in that Odd Man Rush? You tell us. Leave a comment in the YouTube replies. Love to hear, in your opinion, who is the odd man in the Odd Man Rush that's coming up next. And then in our third period, our good friend Catherine Bogart from UtahMammoth.com and Mammoth Monthly, the podcast, to preview this month's episode. We're off and running on a Wednesday edition of Mammoth Daily.
It's time for your Wednesday Odd Man Rush.
Corporate mandated that we had to bring him back onto our show, and so here he is. The guy with the slickest hands on this side of the Mississippi, whichever side of the Mississippi we happen to be on. He's got a shot like Dylan Gunther. He skates like Logan Cooley. And nobody calls a game like Matt McConnell. From the TV side of Hockey Night in Utah, we welcome in the Mammoth play-by-play man, Matty Ice, Matty 2000, Matty Mitz. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here. AD, how you doing today? Like Sunday night, we're all in the Olczyk basement, right? Beautiful home. It's halfway to Wisconsin, by the way. He says he's from Chicago. He's really from like almost Beloit, Wisconsin, southern border. And we're in the basement, and we're all playing they're playing the mini sticks. And so Nick says, do you want to take a shot on Mike? And I said, okay, I'll take a shot on Mike. So I get the big stick, right? I have one of Eddie O's, I think, old sticks. And I come in, and I try to go corner, and I hit Mikey right in the forehead. Or did I get you in the eye?
Right in the lip. I was checking my jibs. I thought you had gotten one of the pearls loose.
You know what, AD? I felt so bad. I mean, so bad that I didn't make the shot. So.
I've said it a number of times. Kim Becker and I were talking about it over the weekend. Some people were just made for sports with their competitive edge, and Matt McConnell is one of those people. Everything's a competition, everything's a sport, and you're in it to win it.
Well, they're heckling me. Like it was like I was playing on the road, instead of the friendly confines of Olczyk Arena. They're heckling me. They want me to trip. They want me to stub my toe. They want me to run the blade of the stick into the carpet and rip it or something. Like
Nick's 5-year-old nieces and nephews were heckling Matty. Don't listen to anything this guy says. Notice how he started the story with the phrase mini sticks, and then by the end of the story, he's holding like an Eddie Olczyk lumber, like an Al McGinnis stick or something. That's what he was teeing off on me with. From the forward tees, too. Like where Matty plays from in the summertime.
I'll tell you what, though, guys. Like, it was a fun time. Nick set it up really well, but Mikey, you were awesome. You were really good between the pipes. I'm serious.
I had some moments.
I'm serious. I mean, the goal was about this big because we were playing with a kiddie net, but you didn't let many in.
I think part of it too was the fact that I had about 3 of Mrs. Olczyk's cookies by that point, and had like a glob of cake as well to go with the great Italian dinner, and so I was a little. You
had a couple of these too, didn't you?
I had a little sip of wine. Relax. Matty, we are glad to have you back on. It's always a great time with you, if you can't tell.
Sure.
Wanted to ask, just with, we're recording this on the last leg of the road trip here in Minnesota, and we're recording it almost a week after the trade deadline. And for so many years in Arizona, you and Tyson Nash and Bob Heathouse had to put on a brave face this time of year after a lot of pieces were sold away, and try to make the most of games that didn't have a lot of importance in the standings for Coyotes teams that were rebuilding. And now you're on the other side of it, where the Mammoth have added Mackenzie Weegar and were buyers at the deadline. What's it like for you to be on the other side of this?
Well, you're right. I go back to 2012 when that team went to the Western Conference Final, and I'll never forget this. That blue line had a lot of experience, right? And so I added up the games, the games of experience, and that blue line had about 3,600 games of experience, which is quite a bit for six guys. And so, anyways, the next year they started the teardown, and this was before Bill got there, Bill Armstrong, and the day after they traded Keith Yandel, they brought in John Moore from New York, from the Rangers, and these names that you probably wouldn't even recognize. And the entire blue line had something like 680 man games. And I knew that we were probably in trouble. And AD, you were in Tucson, you were part of the group. You knew what it was like too. But you know what? Bill did what had to be done, right? He tore it down to the studs. He was taking on bad contracts to get the team to the cap floor, but he was picking up draft picks. One of the best deals he ever made was he traded Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson to Vancouver. And he had to take back some bad contracts, but in that deal, he got a first-round draft pick, and that first-round pick turned out to be Dylan Guenther. So it is great. Like it was so cool to watch this thing transpire, the trade deadline, and know that they were going to do everything they could to improve the team. And Bill says that all the time. He says, look, it's my job every day to wake up and figure out how I can make this organization or this hockey team better. And, I think getting Mackenzie Weegar was awesome. He's been terrific. Good guy, right? But he blocks shots. He's good on outlet passes. He engages the offense. He can play in all different situations. And the other thing I like about it was there wasn't wholesale changes, right? Like Bill didn't go out and acquire 3 or 4 guys that probably would have disrupted the chemistry, would have probably created issues up front of, okay, now if we got to get this guy in, who are we going to play him with? Well, these guys have been really good together. We don't want to break them up. It's a very systematic approach, I think, that Bill has. And I'm sure that he's going to, the trade deadline as well, guys, is you lay the ground for future deals, right? So I'm sure Bill will re-engage on some of those conversations that he may have had moving forward into the offseason. But I think we're in great shape. Didn't give up any of the top 7 or 8 picks that the prospects that the organization had. So I'm bullish on all of this.
Maddie, you've seen Mackenzie Weegar with Florida and with Calgary, and over the years, there's been players on other teams where I think, oh, he'd be great in our organization. That guy is cut out right of the same cloth as the guys we draft, the guys that we sign. What were your impressions of Mackenzie Weegar over the years? Because you've seen a lot of him, 600 plus games. He's come through the arenas, and you've been through his.
Yeah, you know what, AD? I think he's solid and steady, right? What I noticed right away after the acquisition was he just calms everything down, right? He there's no panic in his game, and that's how he was. He's a really good story. He was a late round draft pick, and then he comes in and makes a mark in Florida. Then he goes to Calgary. He wasn't having a great season with the Flames, but I think that was due in large part to the overall situation in Calgary, where they're just not having a good year as a group, and now they're kind of in a full rebuild mode. And I'm sure they'll get their house in order over the next couple of years. But I like his steadiness. I like the fact that it seems like he sticks up for his teammates. He can drop the gloves if he has to, and he's one of the most positive guys that I've been around since coming to Utah. Like he's got some Lawson Krause vibes. To me, in terms of personality, and just a positive guy that always wants to do better. So I'm excited. I think it's a great addition. And I agree with what Nick Olczyk said the other night, or it might have been last night, a couple of nights ago in Chicago, when he said that we arguably have a top 6, top 7 D-core in the league. I think it's only going to get better.
And that's what I was going to ask about, Maddie. We haven't seen, as we record this, we haven't seen Weegar play with Sergachev yet. But when 98 comes back in, maybe you don't have a Quinn Hughes or a Cale Makar, but geez, 1 through 6, 1 through 7, you feel pretty good about that group. I mean, how do you How do you measure this defense core against ones that you've seen for a team you're calling and just around the league? How do you see them stacking up?
It's as good of a group as I've been around in a long time. I think that group in 2012 in Arizona with, Derek Morris and Keith Yandel and Adrian Acoin and guys like that were pretty good. But what I like about it is everybody. First of all, Marino with Nate Schmidt is the best pairing, I think, in the entire league at this point. They're really good. Their numbers at one point were better than Cale Makar and Devon Taves, which is mind blowing in a lot of ways because they get so much of the publicity and they are great. They are great. But I think when you have Marino and Schmidt, and now you have Sergachev and what I would think would be Mackenzie Weegar because he's going to play top minutes on the back end, and then you can go Ian Cole and Sean Dursey, and then you got Nick DeSimone in the wings. Mr. I don't even need a warm-up the other night in Columbus, right? It's a really good group, and I think each has a role, and I think they're going to play very, very well down the stretch and into the future. And the other thing with Weegar that I didn't mention, he's got a pretty good shot, right? And I just think he reads plays well. You watch some of the highlights from Calgary. He scored 20 goals a couple of seasons ago. So I think the blue line is in really, really good shape.
Matt, let's talk about goaltending. Karel Vejmelka, drafted by Nashville, stays in Czechia, gets his master's degree, signed as a free agent by Bill. He was ticketed for the AHL, makes the team in that 7-0 preseason, the crazy game in Vegas where he stood on his head, and all of a sudden he's on the roster. And year by year by year, second half of last season, he's the starter, 23 straight starts in a row. This year, he's the first goalie in the NHL to 30 wins. You want to talk about incrementally making progress each year to become a elite NHL goalie. That's Vejmelka, and you can't do it without having a starting goalie like that.
Yeah, you know what, AD, 100%. It starts and ends with goaltending on a lot of nights, right? We saw it in Chicago. Vitek made some incredible saves. We've seen it throughout the trip. I remember the day he made his debut in Buffalo, and it was because of injuries. And he was kind of back then kind of an afterthought. But I think it's just been so much fun to watch his growth. And last year when he was able to, play, 22 games down the stretch, 22, 23. So then all of a sudden, he can do it, right? And so now he's the number one solid backup in Vitek Vanacek, but he's just so athletic. And I think Veggie is a guy that when he gets into his rhythm, he can go long periods, long streaks of good play, right? So I think we saw that last year. I think we've seen it a lot this year, but he's just so athletic and so much fun. And he's again, the personality side of it, right? I love the personalities. I love the fact that he's a great guy, not only on the ice, but off the ice. The fans adore him, which is pretty cool, right? So he's going to be a huge piece if this team is able to make it into the postseason.
We're going to drop this just ahead of another matchup against the Chicago Blackhawks, Matt. And I'm curious what you and Nick were talking about on the TV side with Chicago getting the best of Utah for the third straight matchup this season. It's kind of been inexplicable how the Mammoth haven't been able to handle these baby Blackhawks. But curious what you guys were focused on during that game at United Center.
Well, you guys are fans of the movie Major League, right? I mean, Major League is one of the greatest. One more win from Chicago, and I think we need to bring Joe Boo in, right? And put the incense around the locker room and just try to get the spirits out of there. Whatever's going on here, like Chicago's got their number. I think the Chicago game, great start. First period, they had the puck in the offensive zone, the Mammoth that is, for 9.5 minutes. Yeah. Game tied. They take the lead again. They're resilient. They're fighting back. But I think in the third period, in the second half of the second period, there was a lull. And that's something that Andre Tourigny is well aware of, and the coaches are well aware of, that sometimes this team can have a very, very good period and then come out and think they've got the game won. So I think that's just, I think they need to work a little bit on consistency, and I don't want to say focus because that's not fair, but they've got to figure it out. They when the pedal is to the metal, keep it there. Don't let up, right? And so I think Chicago, the game in Salt Lake City 9-10 days ago, whenever it was, I thought they were really good on the forecheck, and they didn't allow a lot of time and space. And they've got a lot of young players on that team. They've got, I said I said in Chicago on the show that they're kind of behind in the timeline as where Utah is right now. But they've got a lot of good young talent that is fast, right? They've got some speed on that team. So, third game coming up here at Delta Center on Thursday night. They're going to have to be ready, but I think what they got to do is they got to have killer instinct to get against this team and try to kick them while they're down after they get a lead on them.
Matt, of course, one of the faces of the team is the head coach, and Andre Tourigny, and he's a guy that Bill in that press conference when he hired him mentioned he saw him 20 years ago coaching a junior team, and he could just tell what a family that they were. But the culture aspect is one thing, but Bear is a guy that learned English in his 30s. Analytics became a thing in his 40s. He's always talking about the latest book that he read, and you've seen his record improve every single year as a head coach as his team has grown. In your time with Andre Tourigny, what have you admired in just the day-to-day, the way that he leads the team, has had success and has gotten to this point to take the team from, the very beginning up to the first wildcard spot?
I think he's an incredible coach. There's so many things that I like about him. First of all, I think that every player in that room knows, good or bad, where they stand with Andre, right? He always says to us, there's the player and then there's the person, and you have to separate them. So I think he's incredibly fair. I think he's a guy that will tear a strip off you and then 5 minutes later put his arm around you. And I think that's the way you have to coach now. Kids back in the day, it was, I remember Rick Tocchet telling me this one time in Arizona. He goes, back in my day, the coaches would say, we're going to do this drill, do it. And he said, nowadays, you got to say to the players, we're going to do this drill, and here's why we're doing it. Because they want to know, they want the information. Folta, you're that generation. Come on, I mean, you're probably asking me what are you going? Like, you want me to explain what I'm saying?
If Bear tells me to do something, I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, maybe it could help you up in that Ogden D7 rec league that you're in, or whatever it's called.
Hey, don't disrespect the Bison like that.
By the way, you might want to listen to the highlights from the Chicago game, because you might
haven't done that yet.
You might hear a reference to you in there. But no, he's evolving. He's open-minded. He doesn't play favorites. We've seen Logan Cooley get benched. We've seen Clayton Keller get benched at times, earlier in his career. But he's just so good, and there's a saying, evolve or die, right? And he's done that. And AD, you laid it out very, very well. How he's adapted and changed, and think of all the stuff that he went through in Arizona in terms of personnel, and not wondering if a guy's going to be around or if he's going to get traded or whatever. So I learned something from him every single day. We, as a group of broadcasters, all of us, we get those sidebars with Andre, and he really teaches me things. A lot of times I think I know what he's going to tell me, but it turns out to be something different. And then I realize, okay, yeah, now I see why he's saying that. And yes, once again, I'm the idiot here, not knowing what I'm talking about. So, but no, he's great. He's great. And I think he's done a really good job of molding the roster and putting the pieces together.
Matt, I know on the TV side, you guys have so much to get to over the course of a game. You can hardly get a word in edgewise with Nick or Dom or Sarah or Kim chatting with you. But here on Mammoth Daily, we can go for as long as you want. The floor is yours. I just wanted to, before we close, give you the mic and let you run with the ball. Any closing thoughts? Anything we didn't get to that you've been mulling over on this road trip for the Mammoth heading down the final stretch?
Yeah, you know what? It's weird because I thought this road trip was going to be a real, it could be a game changer, right? And 3 wins out of the chute. They get a point in Chicago, and Mike, as you mentioned, we're recording this on the day of the Minnesota game, so keep it going. And I kind of look. Playoff hockey is unbelievable. It is incredible. The atmosphere that will be inside the Delta Center will be ratcheted up even higher, if that's even possible. But I can't wait, and I'm just so hopeful that they can get in there and make a little bit of a run. Right? It's been a while for me, and I see how hard these guys work. The off season will come. They'll take a week or two, and then they'll start right into their training and eventually get back on skates. It's a ton of work. Back in the day, you'd use training camp to get into shape. Well, if you're not in tip top shape when you get to training camp, you're done, right? Like you have no chance of making the roster. So all the hard work, all the 11 and a half months of hard work that these guys put into it, I really hope they see it through. And I can't wait to walk into Delta Center to call that first playoff game, because it's going to be off the charts electric. And that for me, that's the prize, right? Just to see how the fans react and how the fans get into it, because it's going to be amazing. It really will.
Asked for 10 minutes with Matt McConnell, got 20. That's how it usually goes.
That's not surprising, is it? Hey, wait, hold on. Can you give us an update on the Ogden League, Mike? And I got a question for you too, AD.
I'm not even on the team. I fill in. I fill in with the Bison and the OHL is what they call it. I also, when I can, I fill in Taylorsville or Kearns, I guess, at the Oval with the D5 Rhinos there and Captain Johnny. So I'm a free agent looking to sign on, but I'm trying to play my way into a contract. You're talking about preseason and training camp, Matt. I'm trying to do a Kyler Yamamoto and play my way into a deal.
Well, I don't think Kyler Yamamoto has anything to worry about with you. And shouldn't they call is it the OHL or the AHL for the Awful Hockey League? What?
Hey! Look, I don't say that about my line mates. Don't say that about my team.
I think your line mates are fine.
Oh, I know they're fine. I think it was Matt and Jamie. Was that what it was? I know Matt for sure. Matt's a day-to-day.
Oh, you don't even know him? You don't even know him? You should be out having pops, take him to dinner.
Now you're getting me in trouble.
AD, I got to ask you, I need a snow update. Have you been shredding it lately?
I was up last Wednesday and snow was great. The greatest snow on earth, Maddie. You need one storm and you're good for the winter. And
yeah,
we got a huge storm, 4 feet, right at the beginning of February, and it kind of pushed it over the top. So it's been a light year in snowpack. We're right about 65% now, but here in Utah, you can never have a bad day on the slopes, as Mike can attest to.
Well, I want to go up with you guys one time, and when you guys are going to the Black Diamonds, I'll be on the bunny trail. That's okay. You can ditch me. We'll just meet back for the UTA bus or the car or whatever.
For the hot chocolate. For the hot chocolate, Maddie.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
We never leave the resort without stopping by the lodge for hot chocolate.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome.
It's magical.
AD and I got stuck on a chairlift last time we went up.
What? How high do those things go? Because I'm a little bit afraid of heights. I know I've been in the gondolas at different places, but I think I was in the Snowbird gondola one time.
Oh yeah, the old tram.
True story. We were playing the last series of the season when I was right out of college. We were playing the Golden Eagles, the Flint Spirits. We were out of the playoffs. The Flint team was out of the playoffs, I think, by Flag Day in October. And so anyways, we go there.
Flag Day's in June.
Oh, is it in June? Well, yeah, everybody's out pretty much by
I don't know how I know that. I know Flag Day's in June.
Well, what like early Halloween. And so we go there, and I go with this guy, Ray Brimmer, who was one of our defensemen. And we had an off day, and he wasn't supposed to ski, right? Because, the players shouldn't be skiing. And so we go up to Snowbird, but we had to take the gondola or the chairlift up a little bit higher because we couldn't ski all the way down. But it was awesome. It was incredible.
Ski
Well,
Utah,
that's my
baby.
story.
Greatest
We'll
snow on earth.
We'll bring Maddie to ski, and we'll bring Adrian on the snowmobiles, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd probably bring my cross-country skis and just cross-country ski alongside you guys.
Be faster than me going downhill.
Get the cardio going.
Maddie, thank you, my friend.
This is Mammoth Daily.
Welcome back, everybody. Mammoth Monthly coming out this week. Catherine Bogart from UtahMammoth.com will be your host of that, as always. And as always, she joins us for the monthly preview here on Mammoth Daily. How's it going, Catherine?
It's great, Adrian. Great to see you. And I'm so excited for everyone to listen to this pretty lengthy episode of Mammoth Monthly.
You got a lot to cover. Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Mammoth, right after the trade deadline. And for Catherine, it's a fun time because the Mammoth were able to take that swing and get Mackenzie Weegar in, but also keep, the assets that are very important, the first round picks, the top prospects. Utah's got one of the best prospect wells in the National Hockey League. And so to be able to get Mackenzie Weegar and also still have everything intact, it's great for this year and the future.
Right. Bill Armstrong said he wanted to get a guy who would come back next year as well. They didn't want to take a rental. They wanted someone who has term on a contract. And I think it's really important too, something that Bill talks about in our exclusive one-on-one following the deadline was that he didn't want to disrupt the core too much. The teams that really, do well, they have that core. So it's very important that the Mammoth didn't change the whole roster, especially because they are doing well. They're currently in a wild card spot. They have done a lot this season. They've taken a huge step on the ice. So you don't want to disrupt that too much. However, Weegar is a great guy. He's a great teammate, great in the locker room. He has plenty of experience and leadership skills. He wore an A with the Calgary Flames, and now he comes to the Mammoth, and he has quite a bit of familiarity, not only with some of the players, but head coach Andre Turney, who coached him at the 2023 Men's World Championship. And actually, that's an added bonus for Weegar because we talked with Coach this morning ahead of the game against Chicago. And he talked about how Weegar's able to get into the system really well because he played a similar structure at the World Championships. So that's a really cool way that Weegar's able to get situated on the ice. And in the locker room, he's already off to a great start.
And you being on the trip with the team, able to be one of the first members of the organization to meet him, to interview him. And Catherine, I've heard great things about Mackenzie Weegar as a player, but in the locker room and, talking to us.
He's a great guy, according to the Calgary media, not just even us from on the ground right now. He won an award for really a player that excels and is great with the media and is able to give thoughtful answers and be involved in the community. So he won that award for the 2024-25 season with the Flames. So he's a certified good guy, according to Calgary. So when he came here, we all had high expectations, and he has done nothing but exceed them. He's so nice. He's always smiling. You can just tell he's so happy to be here, and he's so excited to be in this final stretch of games, fighting for a playoff spot and hopefully going to the playoffs.
Winning that World Championship in 2023 with head coach Andre Turney, and that team was loaded of guys on our current roster. Lawson Krause, Michael Carcone, Barrett Hayton, and Jack McBain. So you've got that familiarity. And Catherine, that head coach Andre Turney was excited when he heard the name Mackenzie Weegar for the Mammoth to be involved with.
Absolutely. And Mackenzie just has already fit in so well. And to have familiarity with the coach will always help, especially since he did just jump right into action. He landed, got to the rink around 2:30, and at 7 p.m., he was in the lineup playing. So that's a quick turnaround. But to have that familiarity with the head coach and kind of some of the terminology that Barry uses and some of the terms that the other coaches will use. That already gave him an advantage. And he is a veteran player as well. So coach did talk about that this morning. It's easy with those veteran guys. You know, they've played in different systems before. They can pick things up. They understand the game. They understand the NHL. So it should be a great fit, and it's a very exciting fit and a great trade deadline acquisition by the Mammoth without, selling the farm, as you've said, and also finding someone that would immediately fit into the strong culture that they have spent years building here in Utah.
What else did you talk about with Bill? Because we hadn't seen a lot of Bill in the last week, Catherine. Even as I understand, with you all being on the road, him and his team were behind closed doors working.
Yes, they were very busy. And something to note about trade deadline and free agency and the draft, all these major milestones in an NHL season, it's not just a 1 or 2 day thing. These are months of meetings, planning, scouting, watching, determining who should be on a list. And then from there, it's a lot of conversations, a lot of phone calls and text messages and emails and figuring it out what's best for both parties because both teams have to agree for a trade. So they've been incredibly busy on the management side, but they were excited about it. And Bill's, still on this trip. He'll be at the games and stuff, but he definitely focused in on that week, got the player that he wanted for this organization. And he was very careful. He said in his availability with all of the media that he, they didn't want to overpay for someone. They didn't want to make a trade to make a trade. They wanted to make sure that they were very intentional with that. And you can just see all the hard work and dedication from everyone on hockey operations staff, management staff, coaches, players. Everyone has bought in. And that's what builds a winning organization, when everyone is pulling the rope the same way and they all want the same goal and everyone's doing their part to get to that goal.
And, Bill was asked about, how hard is it to stay disciplined when you've got assets and you've got stars out there. And for Bill, I was interested to hear the answer to his question, Catherine, because he's had this plan that year after year after year has taken its next step, and there has not been one deviation to the Bill to ultimately win a Stanley Cup.
It's so important, because if you start deterring on your path or you start questioning it and doubting it, you're never going to get the results that you have if you have steadfast faith. And I think something Bill always says is, you draft one good player and you draft another good player and you get another good player and you just start stacking a lot of good players and you're going to have a really good team. And because he's done that for years in the draft and years with trades and whether it's at the deadline being sellers in the past and getting great assets in return for players, all of that hard work has paid off now because he has so many options. And right now, a lot of these star name players are being traded. They're not really going on the market with free agency. A lot of the top free agents for this upcoming year have already signed contracts. So it's just a very different world. And as things progress, Bill and his team have adapted, and they've made sure that they're very cognizant of how the new CBA or how the market's playing out, and having that pulse on things allows them to understand it and put it towards their plan and say, this is our plan from the beginning. How can we adjust our systems here based off of the current state of affairs in hockey?
So we got Bill Armstrong coming up on Mammoth Monthly. Looking forward to that conversation, Catherine. And as the Mammoth are back home, more time to talk about the Utah Mammoth Ice Center. I can't get enough of the facility. I was there last Friday when Hillary Knight surprised our 100,000th female hockey player to sign up with USA Hockey in Joanna. And that was a magical experience. And it's really what Chris Armstrong and the team has told us from, the first shovel going in the ground is this is going to be Utah's hockey headquarters to bring people in and share the game of hockey. And that's what we saw. And on Mammoth Monthly this week, you'll have more on all of the great stuff with the grand opening as we continue. It's open, it's the grand opening is passed. And now, Catherine, it's essentially 24/7 Grand Central Station for hockey in Utah.
It's awesome because there's so many different levels of hockey going on for the community at the Utah Mammoth Ice Center, everything from learn to play to rec leagues. And the hope is really from the organization that one day there's not only a Mammoth player who grew up in Utah and learned how to play hockey at the Utah Mammoth Ice Center, but there's also women who have grown up in Utah, played at the Utah Mammoth Ice Center, play professional hockey, and represent at the Winter Olympics as well. So there's just a hope to grow this sport. And Utah is surging in numbers when it comes to enrollments and interest around hockey. So it's super exciting. And Kristen Bonus, who is leading the charge here with youth hockey in Utah for the Mammoth, has been nothing but amazing. And she has really had an impact in such a short period of time if you really look at the greater picture of things. But it's a really exciting time surrounding the Ice Center. It's an absolutely stunning facility. We hear it all the time from teams, NHL teams that come in and practice there, because a lot of times they're there a day or two early before the Utah game. And they all say, oh my God, this is the most stunning practice facility. And I'm like, yep, we get to go there every day. It's really a blessing. It is so cool. So there's a lot of positive talk about that around the NHL, around youth hockey, USA hockey. It's a really exciting time for hockey in Utah.
And carrying on, Catherine, the momentum from the Olympics and the gold medal won by Clayton Keller, and Hillary Knight is the captain of the women's team over in Milan. And it's another thing you're going to have for us coming up on Mammoth Monthly, because it was a whole lot more than 16 days over in Italy for the sport of hockey.
Right. We talked with JJ Peterka and also Clayton Keller about their Olympic experiences and just what it was like to compete best on best with NHL players at the Winter Olympics, which hasn't happened in so long, since 2014 in 12 years. So it's a really cool conversation to have with both of them and hear about their experiences, so much more so than even just playing. The experience of being in the Olympic Village, seeing other athletes, learning from them, seeing how the best of the best in every discipline at the Winter Olympics trains, prepares, and executes. So it's really cool to check in with them after their Winter Olympics and see what their thoughts were on the entire experience.
Catherine, I saw a stat in the last couple days, and I thought this was so cool. Clayton Keller coming out of the Olympics hot, third leading scorer in the NHL among USA players at the Olympics, behind only Matt Boldy, who got that huge goal in the gold medal game, and Matthew Tkachuk. So to see Keller at the Olympics and then come back and pick it up and pick up our team, it's been so fun.
Keller learned so much at this Olympics. And with the Olympics, too, you have to remember every player serves a role. And sometimes your role might not be the same as it is with your NHL club, because really you're taking the best players from each NHL club that you can. So for Clayton, he was able to learn so much from this experience as well. And I remember Bear said in the first media availability back, I can't wait to pick his brain, because he already told me he learned so much. And I can't wait to hear it, because he's learning from different elite players in the NHL, veterans in the NHL who have been to the playoffs, have won the Stanley Cup. He's learning from every single coach, whether assistant or head coach, and learning, and all of them coach in the NHL. So learning or have coached. So learning from their styles, their experience. Hey, maybe this is a move you can bring in, or hey, what if you did this in this situation? To be able to learn from elite minds in the sport of hockey at the Winter Olympics was a huge benefit for Keller, especially coming now into this final stretch of the regular season. He has experience in those big games. He's won gold at every single international level possible. He's one of two players to do it right now. Him and Tage Thompson are the only players who have achieved this. And last year, winning a gold with Men's Worlds and being the captain of that team was invaluable experience. And then you add in the Olympics. He has learned so much about what it means to play in these big gold medal games, these big moments, what it takes for the entire team to be together. And that's what a great captain does. You know, they're the glue. They keep the whole team together. So for him to learn from various different captains on this USA squad and bring that back, it's no surprise he's excelling on and off the ice. And it's no surprise, too, that the Mammoths have gone on a multi-game win streak here on this road trip. They've won the first 3 games. They're hungry, they're eager, and they're driven. and that locker room is focused in. So this is great. Keller got all that experience. He was able to bring it back. Same with JJ and Karel Vejmelka. So this is a great opportunity for all these players to now bring their lessons to their teammates in the locker room.
Well, we'll be excited to hear more about it on Mammoth Monthly. As always, Catherine, Nick Olczyk is going to stop by for another visit. And when Nick stops by, you always learn something. Even when you think you have it all figured out, Nick always gives us something to think about and some fun stuff to learn.
He gives a lot of perspective on Keller and participating at the Olympics and coming out of the Olympics and this stretch of games. And Nick just gives us insight into what's going on with this team. And it's always so helpful and it's always so fascinating. I think we talked for almost 20 minutes this time. So we couldn't stop chatting because we had plenty to talk about. So I won't reveal too much there, but it's a great conversation with Nick as per usual.
Mammoth Monthly, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, SEG Plus, exactly like Mammoth Daily. That's where you can find it. So make sure you subscribe and you'll never miss an episode from Catherine. Every month, our magazine podcast. Would you call it that, Catherine? Mammoth Daily. We're going every day, and you're along monthly in long form with magazine stories is how I look at
that. Yeah, I think it's just an expansion into the themes that are already covered in Mammoth Daily. So we're complimentary here. We love it. Mammoth Monthly loves Mammoth Daily.
Catherine, so much fun to have you along as always here on Mammoth Daily, and we'll have you back next month as we start to push towards the playoffs. And that'll do it for this edition of Mammoth Daily. We're back with your Thursday Expert Edition on a game day at the Delta Center. We'll get you all ready to go, and a very special Thursday expert is scheduled to join us. So stay tuned for that. You definitely will not want to miss it. Coming up on your Thursday episode of Mammoth Daily. Have a great day, everybody.